Hey, this is Sampha, and you're listening to Vocalo Radio.
Only, 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 only you.
Hey, it's Nudia from Nudia in the Afternoons on Vocalo Radio 91.1 FM, Chicago's only urban alternative and your only NPR music station. We are backstage. I'm super excited. We're in the green room. We're backstage at the Riviera with Sampha. Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're back here because you have a show here tonight.
Yep. Mostly.
Okay, are you like the type of person, do you have rituals before a show, or are you just always just ready to go?
Oh no, definitely not just ready to go. I have to work up to it. A bit of exercise. I got to get the blood flowing. I need to have a bit of quiet time as well before I go on stage. Stretch, just physically getting ready. It's quite like it's a bit like I feel like it's a little bit of a sport, really, trying to get ready for a show.
Yeah, and I don't think people know how long show days are for artists. Like you don't just show up an hour before the show. Like you're here the whole day, right?
Yeah, so, and especially with the setup that I've got, there's a lot of like sound checking that needs to be done because there's so many separate bits of audio that we need to like figure out, and every venue is different, so it's always like a constant reset. So yeah, we usually get here like a good 5 to 6 hours before doors, Yeah.
And you've done so much tour, like on the festival circuit, not only in America, like you've like performed at Coachella and stuff, but like also in Europe, you've done a lot of festivals there as well. Do you prefer like a festival or a concert, like one against the other?
I kind of appreciate things for what they are, really. I mean, when it comes to playing live, I've had incredible experiences, both like playing intimate shows, and playing festivals. It's been great doing the shows like these satellite business shows I've been doing, like playing in the round has been like a new experience, and it's been great because we've like been really intimate. But then also it's incredible to like walk out to a festival with like loads of people in front of you, and also it's nice to play in front of people who might not necessarily know my music and connect with people like just on a pure kind of on a new like like you've never heard of me, and I'm just like expressing myself to you like straight ahead. So there is something special about that as well. But I find performing, I get anxious usually, so, and it's not something I like rearing to do. It's like usually when I find myself on stage, I'm like at home on stage, but beforehand it's like I'm pulling my hair out a little bit.
I love hearing that because I know online a lot of people use words like elusive and private to describe you. Is that just your natural personality, or do you like to just kind of keep things to yourself?
I think it's my innate state. If I'm being perfectly honest, it's not something I kind of overly think or try and plan to be. I just naturally am quite sort of I don't know, reclusive. I don't even want to say reclusive, but yeah, I'm a bit of a hermit.
And I have to say, your fans are probably the most politely demanding / begging fans I've seen, like on Twitter, like asking for music. Like you just see your fans being like, please give us more music. So was it a relief to release this last album, Lahai, after 6 years?
Yeah, I don't want to take anybody for granted by any means, and I really appreciate all the people who kept asking for music. And yeah, no, it's been really special sharing music and just seeing people's reactions, and music is so subjective, and it's funny to see how not funny, but it's been quite beautiful to see how people have kind of taken to the record, or if it's how it's touched people, and also like people's opinions. That some people are like, I could have done with this, or I could have done with that. I was like, yeah, maybe be alright. I don't know. Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you to anyone who is listening, and to the people who kept asking, and because I thought I might have lost a few fans. Maybe I have, but hopefully I'll be releasing more music. I said that before, but I'm going to try and mean it.
I know a lot of fans said it was worth the wait. They're like, if we have to wait another 6 years for a project this good, well, we'll wait. But it just seems like there's some artists I look at and I'm like, wow, like you're you're having a great year. You know, you're nominated for a Grammy on Kendrick's album, and then you release your music. Does it feel like you're having like a really good year?
If you know what, it's quite disorientating. I think sometimes, like, it does. I feel, it's a blessing to be able to make music and for it to be my livelihood. I don't take that for granted, and it's special that people kind of connecting to music that I'm putting out. But I try not to get overly excited or overly, it's a balancing act, because it's such a wavy space to be in. Like my ego can be like boosted up to the like high heavens in my head, and also it can get knocked down. So it's important that I sort of keep myself sort of balanced. But I give thanks. I definitely give thanks for, being able to just do something that I love.
Now, can we talk about the new album? I really love, I loved hearing you on, Kendrick's track because you guys both are fathers.
Early morning wake ups, practicing on day offs, tough love, bottled up, no chaser.
Since you released last album, you have had a daughter now, and I love seeing how that affects music writers and singers, because I always feel like music does change once people have children. They kind of have new perspectives on things. Do you feel like having your daughter kind of, inspired you or changed your writing a little bit?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I feel like it's always difficult to recognize how experience changes the way you act, It's always easier to imagine something you haven't done and dream of it, but once you've actually gone through it, like I say, it's like sometimes when you're like dreaming of doing something, the feeling becomes bigger than when you actually do it, if you know what I mean. So once I get on stage, I'm like, what was I so worried about? But yeah, no, definitely being a father, I mean, it's changed me fundamentally. And I think in terms of my approach to music, I feel like maybe, my problem solving abilities and my patience has increased, because of becoming a father. And also just like, obviously it gives me inspiration sometimes to write about, particular emotions that, are maybe new to me or that have surfaced now becoming a father. But yeah, at the same time, it also feels very natural. So some things it's like, I don't really know how it's affected the music, but I'm sure it has in a lot of ways.
And talking about the new album, Lahai, it was, of course, released a couple weeks ago. And the song Evidence, I was listening to it. It's one of my favorites off the album. Is it about your daughter?
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of my songs, there's about like 4 different things going on, like in terms of thematically. But yeah, it definitely touches on, my daughter and my sort of search, my spiritual kind of journey, thinking about or interrogating what spirituality means, divinity, and on a metaphysical level. And I guess with my daughter, I'm talking about on an immanent level, which is seeing divinity in material things. And that's definitely the energy I get from her.
Couldn't stop what those blues you are, articulate. I've been acting like your actions are from outer space.
And also another track I really love is it Jonathan L. Siegel? And it's funny because I was doing research. I didn't really know what, I was like, I've never really heard that name. But doing research, it is, like a book that's kind of fundamental reading for like school children or like high schoolers or middle schoolers in the UK. But like in America, like I never read that book, So I really love that song. And I was, looking at some, blog columnists, and they were saying that, is it true that there's a lot of, you bring up references to that throughout the album?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like flying and I guess bird references throughout the record, and I do mention Jonathan Livingston Seagull in Spirit 2.0.
Just like Jonathan Livingston Seagull, try catch the clouds in the free fall. I was caught by the wings of my people, then you pick me up
and then I talk about like Inclination Compass, which in Rose Tint, which is also the name of another song, which is I guess the way in which birds or like butterflies use a magnetic field to navigate sort of sort of migrations and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's quite like a a theme throughout the record, you know. And for me, a lot of the record is about memory, and it's about you know, looking forward also, but it was also about my kind of me feeling like I needed like a bird's eye view as well, particular time in my life where each day will kind of go into each day, especially around COVID, you know, like sort of when I had enough, like when things slowed down a lot, me recognizing that I was just on this kind of treadmill and I wasn't questioning it, and I felt like I needed to have a bigger look at sort of my life and sort of go up and you know, be able to look back and look forward. And I feel like a bird's eye view kind of represents that. And Jonathan Levers and Seagull, I guess, came into my mind was I was freestyling and just kind of stuck and became a bit of a thematic identity of the record.
That's what I was reading, but that is like one of my like probably top 3 tracks that I loved from the album. And looking at your catalog of people you've worked with, I feel like people would die to really have this like catalog. I mean, Kendrick Lamar, Kanye, Frank Ocean, Jesse Wire, Travis Scott, Solange. Like, is this just normal to you to work with great people now, or has it felt like it's been a lot of work, or has it felt like it's all happened naturally?
It's most definitely happened naturally, and you know, I give thanks, you know, especially when working with artists who I respect and whose music I admire, and you know, the fact that they want to work with me as well has been a blessing. And you know, but it's happened all very naturally, you know, and I can't tell you who I'm going to work with in the next year, or who's going to pop out of the woodworks and when. It's never really planned. I guess it's just the energy that's kind of, you know, going around. But it's been, yeah, I've been fortunate to be able to work with people who I really admire and see their creative processes up close, and yeah, and also through that being able to recognize my own value as well, you know, just because there's times where I've felt imposter syndrome, like why is this person wanting to work with me, or why, but then, you know, I'm recognizing that, you know, I have something as well, and we're all human, and at the same time that, you know, recognizing both the mundane poetry of us all, and also the extraordinariness of us all. I'm just making words up here, but yeah, I'm going to use that one, extraordinariness.
And we're in Chicago, and you have kind of, you know, said that you have in the past looked up to like artists like Common and Kanye, like Chicago artists. And I was looking back to try to trace this. Like, do you feel like there's a moment or a song that was kind of your big break, like when you're like, okay, I feel like I made it after this happened?
Oh, yeah, as in like a song that I've written, or like a...
Yeah, or it could be a feature, but like, you're like, this is it.
Oh, I mean, I definitely felt the shift after working with Drake, as a lot of people probably would. I know, and that being said, like even like Subtract, like the first time I sort of started making music, and then I was getting plays on Radio 1 in UK, and I was like, wow, this is real. People actually, you can actually make a song, and then it gets played on the radio, and then, you know, like I was like, wow, this like blew my mind. And also, yeah, I guess, working with Drake definitely expanded the exposure, and it was great. That was like a great record to work on, because probably one of my favorite Drake records as well. Nothing Was the Same. Yeah, those are definitely moments.
Did the cell phone go crazy? Like, you know, the cell phone blow up,
yeah,
text messages?
No, definitely. Like friends, family. Especially at that time, I guess it wasn't, you know, as commonplace, I guess, maybe for like artists, especially artists like me, working with artists across the pond. And then on a personal level as well, working with Kendrick, I've been a fan of his for years, and so getting to, you know, be in the studio with him and get to talk to him and get to know him, it's been a really special experience for me. Yeah.
And I'm looking at the moment you had at NPR, VR NPR music station. You did a Tiny Desk, and it's so great to see like 6 years ago you did like a real tiny desk. Like now people, I think it's like nice and fun that people bring in like 8-piece bands and choirs and stuff, but you did a tiny desk where it was literally just you. And I think you had a keyboard and a piano, and then that was it. And you did 3 songs, and I feel like that was like the original format of tiny desk.
No one knows me like the piano in my mother's home.
Did you know that has 3.7 million views?
I have checked it out once or twice. I must admit, I'm not gonna say I had no idea. Wow. Yeah, no, I knew. I mean, and it's all relative because I know that some people have got loads more and whatnot. But yeah, at the time I actually didn't really understand the scope of Tiny Desk, and I was it's just like an office I'm playing in. I was still pretty I was a little bit nervous. I warmed up the good old vocals, but yeah, it was a cool gig. It was special, and definitely got lots of beautiful reactions from it. Yeah, and it's a great show.
And I wanted to kind of, I was looking in the comments again. There's some places of the internet where it's just nice. And your comment section from this tiny desk is one of those places. So I just thought I'd read you some. One of them, this is, it says, Sampha, you're 2000% not going to see this, but as a single father, I want to thank you so much for coming out with this, because my 1-year-old daughter is able to fall asleep to this tiny desk.
My pleasure. If that's a great compliment. I know putting children to sleep is a thing, and if I can do anything to help, it is my absolute pleasure. So I'll take that as a compliment.
This other person said, you know the feeling when you mix sugar and cream perfectly in a cup of coffee and it tastes amazing? That's his voice, the perfect blend.
Wow, I appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's subjective. There's some people who are like, I don't get the hype about this guy's voice. And there's times in the day, I never really, I never saw myself as I call it like a singer. You're like, I can't really do and hit particular notes, but I sing from the heart, and I appreciate that hopefully transmits. So I'll take it, basically. I'll take that compliment. Thank you.
And the last one we have, someone says, I've watched this performance over and over again, and it's brought me out of the deepest and darkest moments of my life. Thank you, Sampha.
As I said, it's a blessing, and music is a powerful thing, and it's definitely helped me in difficult moments in my life. And it's just the energy we share around, and life is tough. We need to have our hands held by things, and I'm usually just sharing my own sort of insecurities and wondering why would you want to hear what I've about my pain, but hearing something like that definitely makes me feel like that there's value in expressing your darker moments alongside the happier moments. So yeah, I appreciate that comment too.
I was gonna say, there was this video, I think is it Wallow, where he met you and he started crying. Is that hard for you to that this is your reality, that some people just meet you and they you bring all these emotions out of them?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's I'm one of those people. It's hard for me to access emotions or be, especially in the moment, or be not empathetic, but really because you have to be really open-hearted when someone's particularly emotional. Everyone's probably had that when out of the blues something really someone gets really emotional. You're like, how do I react to this? How do I really embrace? Because it's quite a sensitive place. You're touching on it's a sensitive nerve. And so you're gonna react to it in different ways. And sometimes it's awkwardness. Sometimes I don't quite know. Actually, I can't quite even sympathize right now with what you're going through. But it's something you kind of have to mature into, I guess. And sort of really zone into what's going on for people. And that's a beautiful thing about music. Is really can, connect you to your emotion and to being alive and to bookmarking moments in your life. So I'm trying to grow up and really sort of empathize with how people are feeling, or how my music makes people feel, because especially after making music, sometimes I might even forget the initial emotion of a song after a certain amount of time. And so when people kind of meet me with the emotion, I'm like, oh yes, I make emotional music. Oh yeah. Okay.
And we have to wrap this up, but tonight you're playing at the Riviera Theatre, and what could fans expect? Could they expect like a little bit of, the first album and second, or are you going to focus more on Lahai?
It's a mixture, definitely leaning towards more Lahai songs. But yeah, a mixture of my kind of huge discography.
Well, thank you so much for sitting with us.
That's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And we can't wait to see more.
Yes, most definitely.
Dancing, hand in hand with you.